in the portion where sage Narad warns the queen to leave her daughter alone, tells her that the great are strongest when they stand alone. He tells her further, a day may come when she must stand unhelped on a dangerous brink of the world's doom and hers. Here he hints that her destiny is linked to the destiny of the world. If it is a doom of herself, it is also the doom of the world. So she fights to ward off not only the misfortune of her personal life, but also of the world. A day may come when she must stand unhelped on a dangerous brink of the world's doom and hers, carrying the world's future on her lonely breast. She will be alone, and the burden of the entire world will have to be carried by her, carrying the human hope in a heart-left soul. The human hope of one day conquering death will have to be carried by her soul heart to conquer or fail on a last desperate word. It is not decided, but she has to stand alone, facing the doom, to conquer or to fail. Alone with death and close to extinction's edge, her single greatness in that last dire scene, she must cross alone a perilous bridge in time. The bridge from mortality to immortality, she will have to cross alone in her single greatness. This perilous bridge recalls to our mind mother's experience during the somewhat, I think, 1 or 2 last years, when she had to face and cross a bridge. And naturally she was alone, and she felt before she passed the bridge that it would be something decisive. And she describes how, without thinking of anything, she just crossed. This is the perilous bridge, and reach an apex of world destiny, where all is won or all is lost for man. Crossing that bridge, she has to reach that height where the world destiny is going to be decided, by which all is won for man or all is lost for man. In that tremendous silence and lost, she is lost to everything else. And it is a tremendous silence, not just a physical silence, not a mental silence, but a silence on the threshold of God. Sri Aurobindo uses this phrase, tremendous silence, more than one context, and that signifies the quality of the silence as experienced by him. It is something overpowering, something immobile, which one can approach only after crossing the last frontiers of the mind. In that tremendous silence, lone and lost, of a deciding hour in the world's fate, in her soul's climbing beyond mortal time, when she stands soul with death or soul with God, if she has to first stand soul with death, and only after she disposes of him, she can stand soul with God. Apart upon a silent, desperate brink, edge, border, alone with herself and death and destiny, as on some verge between time and timelessness, on the border between time and eternity, when being must end or life rebuild its base, on the border of transition from time to eternity, the soul has a choice to end its existence into eternity or reform itself in the eternity and return to time. Alone she must conquer, or alone must fall. No human aid can reach her in that hour. It is a hint to the Queen that she is after all human, and her help is not very relevant. No human aid can reach her in that hour. No armor God stands shining at her side, neither human nor divine help can she stand upon. She has to fight the battle alone. No human aid can reach her in that hour. No armored God stands shining at her side. Cry not to heaven, for she alone can save. No use appealing to heaven, appealing to grace, because she alone has the capability of saving the situation. For this, the silent force came mission down. The silent force, that is Savitri, came with this precise mission to the earth. In her, the conscious will took human shape. The divine will to conquer death for man took shape, a human shape, in her embodiment. She only can save herself and save the world. O Queen, stand back from that stupendous scene. come not between her and her hour of fate. Her hour must come, and none can intervene. Neither man nor God can intervene when her hour of moment of truth arrives. Think not to turn her from her heaven-sent task, because she has been speaking the language of Savitri, going back once again and making another choice. So he says, think not to turn her from her heaven-sent task. Strive not to save her from her own high view. Not the will at your level, but a higher level. She has her own will. Thou hast no place in the tremendous fight. Strife between Savitri, representing the divine will, and Death, who has been holding the kingdom of mortality in his hold, in his grasp for millennia. Thou hast no place. Thy love and longing are not arbiters there. They are not judges. They are not mediators. They have no part to play. Leave the world's fate and her to God's sole guard. Leave her to the guard of the Almighty. Leave the fate of the world and her. Do not intervene. Do not interfere. It may appear as if God has left her, even if He seems to leave her to her lone strength, even though all falters and falls and cease and end. Everything appears as if things are falling and an end is inevitable, and the heart fails, and only are death and night, only they are staring at her. God-given, her strength can battle against doom. The strength that is hers is given to her by God, and that can battle, fight against the doom, even on a brink where death alone seems close, where no God is there, no other help is there. Even in such a situation, where death is the sole one who confronts her, and no human strength can hinder or can help, think not to intercede with the hidden will. He gives a hint that there is a hidden will supporting her, inspiring her will. Intrude not twixt her spirit and its force, her genuine inner spirit and its force. Don't stand between them, but leave her to her mighty self and fate. Whatever it is, leave her alone. That is his final word to the queen. He spoke and ceased. Seeing this, he stopped and left the earthly scene. He doesn't have to walk and go, he just disappears. He spoke and ceased and left the earthly scene. Away from the strife and suffering on our globe, he turned towards his far-off blissful home. Narad turns his back on this world of suffering and strife and moves towards his far off blissful home. And when he goes, everybody sees, behold, a brilliant arrow pointing straight to heaven, the luminous body of the eternal seer, assailed the purple glory of the noon. That means it was afternoon. There is the sun in that reddish glory, as if attacking and shooting through that, the luminous body of the eternal seer. Looked like a brilliant arrow and disappeared like a receding star, like a star that is receding from our vision, vanishing into the light of the unseen. So they have seen him vanishing, but that's not the end. But still, a cry was heard in the infinite. They heard a cry, they heard a voice, and still to the listening soul on mortal earth, to the human soul, listening to that cry, a high and far imperishable voice chanted the anthem of eternal love. That cry, that note which was heard by the listening ear was a high, lofty, far distant, imperishable voice, a voice which cannot end. That is Narad's eternal voice, chanted the anthem of eternal love. That is, there is no end to this love. Even in the face of death, the love is eternal. And he sings the anthem, the song of eternal love. That brings us to the end of the canto and the book, number 6. And then follows an equally important book 7. Savitri is taken by a small retinue from the palace and handed over to the man she has chosen to be her companion and husband. So there is the joy of union, but all the while she has that foreknowledge of death and the consequent grief of the human heart, and that is an ordeal. The joy of union is immediately followed by the ordeal of the knowledge of inevitable death and the grief of the heart. Fate followed her, foreseen and immutable road. Fate, her own fate, and the fate of the world follows her foreseen from above, immutable, unchangeable road. Man's hopes and longings build the journeying wheels that bear the body of his destiny and lead his blind will towards an unknown goal. Here he describes the constitution of fate. Is fate something that is dropped suddenly on us? Is fate something that is doled out by God? He says no. The body of his destiny is carried by wheels, and those wheels are constructed by man's hopes and longings. The motive power, the motivation for the journey of for the journey of faith towards the settled destiny is the hopes and longings, desires and hopes. And these lead his blind will. He has a will, but it is blind, it is not luminous, it is not enlightened towards an unknown goal. It is forcing somewhere else, but as far as a man is concerned at his level, his will is led by his hopes and longings, which build the wheels of the carriage, carrying his destiny towards the unknown goal. His fate within him shapes his acts and rules. A fate is forming inside as a result of his hopes and longings, and actions resulting from his hopes and longings. And that fate, as it forms, determines his acts and it rules. Its face and form are born in him. He has determined his fate at a certain level. His desires and hopes go to build that fate, and that forms within him. And he says, its parentage is in his secret soul. This is a very important line, because he says the parentage of the fate of man is in his secret soul, not the outer soul, ego and desire complex, but the deeper soul, which wants that person, man, to have this particular experience, have a series of experiences which will contribute towards a particular growth. And according to that will of his soul, he gets his hopes, he gets his desires, and he fashions his life. So, his parentage is in his secret soul. No use blaming others, no use blaming providence. It is our own soul which determines our fate. Here, in this world, matter seems to mold the body's life. It looks as if our physical life is determined by matter, material law, material circumstances, and the soul follows where its nature drives. This is an appearance. It looks as if nature decides everything and the soul follows helplessly. It looks again as if nature and fate compel his free will's choice. But greater spirits this balance can reverse and make the soul the artist of its fate. Between the soul's decision and its translation into external life, there are many elements that intervene. They may delay the result, one may deviate from the expected end, and there is the struggle and the strife. But a greater spirit can compel nature and fate to directly obey the soul, and the soul can be turned into an artist of its fate. This is the mystic truth our ignorance hides. It is a truth that is not apparent. It is hidden from us by the veil of ignorance. Doom is a passage for our inborn force. It is only when confronted with crisis and doom and death that the inner strength comes forward. So doom is a passage that leads to the outbreak of our inborn force. Our ordeal is the hidden spirit's joy. Our great difficulties, our ordeal is there because it is the choice of our hidden spirit. To face it, to transcend it, to grow in stature thereby. Ananki is our being's own decree. Ananki is the Greek goddess of what we call necessity. Things happen and they said it is the necessity of nature, necessity of world. Now he says it is our own being's decree, law, resolution passed by it. All was fulfilled. The heart of Savitri, flower sweet and adamant, passionate and calm, had chosen. At this moment, in her going to her husband's place, all that, the flower sweet heart and yet adamant heart, Vajradapi Katorani Mriduni Kusumadapi is the famous sentence of Kalidasa. The heart of Savitri, sweet like a flower, and yet adamantine, passionate and calm. Outwardly it is passionate, but at the base it is calm. What that heart had chosen, all that was fulfilled, and on a strength's unbending road, forced to its issue the long cosmic curve, independent of her. The cosmos had been taking a curve towards this decisive hour of confrontation with death by the spirit. And on her road, unbending, unyielding road, this issue that had been gathering on the cosmic level was forced to its conclusion. Once more she sat behind loud hastening hoofs. Once more, because when she set out a year ago to find out her companion, partner, she had gone similarly on her chariot with the horses hastening forward. Once more she sat behind loud hastening hoofs. The horses make a loud noise as they gallop. A speed of armored squadrons, and she was followed by armored squadron, military accompaniment. A speed of armored squadrons and a voice far heard of chariots. Number of chariots accompanied her and their noise was heard very far, bore her from her home. The whole procession started from her home. A cushioned earth is compared to a lady who is lying idly, because in the forest there is not much of human noise and habitation. A cushioned earth, a reclining earth, wakened in its dumb muse, it is silently musing, contemplating. Suddenly all this noise coming there, it wakes up, looked up at her from a vast indolence. She looks up at Savitri going from a vast indolence, laziness, inertia. Hills wallowing in bright haze around her, large lands that lolled at ease beneath this summer heaven. It was summer, and large fields and lands looked as if they were lolling in that heat. Region on region spacious in the sun, cities like chrysolites in the wide blaze. On the way there were cities shining like gems in that white sunlight, and yellow rivers pacing, lion-maned, because the waters of the rivers, as they rush along, their banks, the sands, look as if they are the manes of the lions on the neck. Led to Shalva's marches emerald line. That road led to the emerald line. Emerald to signify forest, thick forest. Emerald line of the Shalva mountains. A happy front to iron vastnesses. This emerald line was a front, looks pleasing to the eye, a happy front behind it. Iron vastnesses, strong mountains, vast in size, and austere peaks and titan solitudes. The peaks of the mountains are austere, alone. And she has come now to the place, rendezvous, where she had come some days ago. So he says, once more was near the fair and fated place, the borders gleaming with the groves delight, groves, forest groves, plants groves, where first she met the face of Satyavan, and he saw, like one waking into a dream. It was a place where she first saw the face of Satyavan, and he saw in turn, as if he is waking up in a dream, some timeless beauty and reality, the moon gold sweetness of heaven's earth-born child. Heaven's child, born on earth, and she carries a moon gold sweetness. Moon to indicate the delightful, peaceful aspect, and gold to indicate the truth nature, the rich truth nature. So she carried both beauty, delight, and a solidity of truth. So this was the place where both had met earlier. The past receded and the future neared. At this moment, all that had happened in the past receded into history, and the future, what is to happen, that is round the corner.